Having the keys to an amazing car like this, the latest spec BAC Mono, is really only half the equation for driving fun. You also need a good stretch of tarmac.
Finding an amazing piece of road like this, the North Coast 500, is a thrill for anyone that loves driving. But the same piece of road in the same conditions can be completely different in two different cars.
Indeed, and the two cars that we've dragged all the way up here to the north of Scotland, on the one hand have a lot in common. They're both British handmade sports cars, they both cost well north of £150,000, they're both fast AF, but on the other hand, couldn't be more different. I've brought the Bentley Continental GT, the new one.
And I'm cold.
Yes, I imagine that you would be. You have drawn the shorter straw, but...
No, can we just say, I didn't draw this. Who came up with this idea and who allocated the cars?
Okay, yeah, it was my idea. In my defense, when we were planning this though, it was the height of the hottest summer we've had ever. So I am sorry, I'd forgotten it rains in Scotland, but you may have been issued with the short straw, but what a straw! Under any other circumstances, that would be my ultimate car to be driving on this road today.
I do absolutely love this sort of car. You know, no creature comforts, but an absolutely raw thrill. Mind you, that's a pretty good thing to be in.
And it is fast, over 200 miles an hour that will do, so it's no slouch.
But that's quicker to 60.
That is quicker to 60.
Today again, that's got forward.
Yeah, that's probably going to help. I think one thing this is going to allow us to explore is what you said, to see how the same bit of road in the same conditions feels completely different in cars that are, although same kind of price, aimed at potentially the same kind of people, utterly different.
Yeah, the philosophies couldn't be further apart really, could they? Talking of which, I'm just going to spend 5 minutes getting into this.
Okay, I'll see you further down the road.
While Henry went through the rigmarole of getting himself strapped into the mono, I effortlessly slipped into my warm haven of wood and leather to start sampling the epic North Coast 500.
Now Henry and I are approaching this, bye Henry, with completely different attitudes, different cars and different end results.
While Henry was going to get the tactile rawness and engagement of the mono, I was going to get the full Bentley experience.
So what is the Bentley experience? Well, Bentley occupy this almost unique space between the ultra luxury, that inheritance they have from the age of being part of Rolls-Royce, and that more sporty, dynamic GT side, the kind where they're treading on the territory of the likes of Aston Martin. And the Continental GT, since it first came out 15 years ago, has occupied that slot right in the middle.
This latest generation of Continental GT brings a few visual tweaks to the design on the exterior, as well as some welcome changes to the interior, in particular the new infotainment system. All of that you can enjoy at your leisure when you're using the car for what it's best at, simply enjoying the drive. But where previous generations of the Conti felt great over long distances, they could feel a little numb on roads like this, but not anymore. Improved balance and better steering make a huge difference, and now despite the weight of this car, you can really have some fun out here on this amazing road.
So here we are on the North Coast 500. What an amazing piece of road this is. And what a car to be driving it in. This faster flowing section really suits the BAC Mono. And how does being in this car really focus my mind on certain aspects of the road? Well, of course you're looking really, I suppose, at grip all the time. And you're doing that, obviously you're looking at the road, you're looking at changes in tarmac surface like this. You're looking at the water, you go to shadow, how does that affect it? You're just thinking about the road so much in terms of how the tyres are going to be dealing with it. You think about the white line, when do you cross the white line? All the cambers and bumps you obviously feel, you can see some of them, but those you're feeling through the steering wheel. You don't use a lot of lock through the corners, but you get a lot of feedback still through this heavy steering, this unassisted steering. For such an extraordinary, uncompromising single-seater of a car, you really do suspension, those long wishbones, coupled with great springs and dampers. And this has got the optional carbon wheels, which obviously has an effect on the unsprung weight. And it really rides pretty well. You do focus very much on the road, you're not looking at your surroundings that much. I'm obviously wearing a helmet. I love driving these with open cars without a helmet on, but this is partly so you can hopefully hear me a bit better, and also because in the changeable conditions we've had, rain tends to sting quite a lot at 60 miles an hour. You'll just have to trust me that I am smiling under here, because I don't want to get a stone chip on my face. I know it's ugly, but you know, I do find when you're in this sort of car, you do tend to scan the horizon much more for what the weather might be going to do. Are the clouds rolling in? Is the weather going to get worse? Something, because you're obviously so low in this car, you can't quite see over crests as much as you would in a normal car, so that probably does actually temper your speed a little bit.
While I had to keep my eyes locked on the road ahead, focusing completely on the drive itself, Drew was enjoying a completely different type of motoring.
Henry's mono needs to be driven hard. That is a tool for driving at the edge of your ability. The joy of a Bentley, at any speed, it's a Bentley. You're getting the Bentley experience at 30 miles an hour or 130 miles an hour. And obviously, the single biggest advantage I have today over Henry is all the creature comforts I have, and obviously Bentley has them in spades. Starting with just the general comfort of the place, the leather. Bentley leather is an industry standard for the highest possible quality of the stuff, and there are bulls and bulls worth of it in this car. Everything you touch, everything you can smell is exquisitely crafted to create a comfortable place. The seats are not just merely there to hold you in place, they're there to make the journey comfortable, refreshing. They give you enough support when you want to go quick, but on those long drives you can still arrive absolutely refreshed. The difference in size and width between this and the mono isn't actually that big. They are surprisingly close in dimensions, but with that car you can see where you're placing it. With the Bentley, it is so large that you have to play it a little bit safe, so you can't necessarily carve each corner as much as you want. Equally, this car has a slightly more numb approach to giving you feedback, rather than give you every vibration it possibly could to tell you every condition of every part of every road. It gives you more of a suggestion, a hint at what lies ahead. Equally, the steering is there to make it effortless and controlled, not pin sharp. I'm not here to say that one car is better than the other. I mean, I'm on record as having said that the mono is probably my favorite car, but today it has been more than once absolutely pissing it down. There's no other way of putting it. And I have watched Henry get cold, get wet. What I haven't seen him get, though, is miserable.
And Drew's right. Despite enduring the Scottish weather without as much as a windscreen to protect me, in a way it adds to rather than detracts from the experience.
I love the fact that as well you feel all the elements, so what you can't see from here is obviously the temperature. When that changes, you feel that when the wind changes direction or the road's moved around, you get the wind coming in from the side, you feel it on the side of your head. You have what I suppose would be called a much more 360-degree experience of the road. And because you're taking in, you're more concerned probably with the grip. You're looking at things like whether the leaves are coming off the trees, who's been here before, any loose gravel that might be around. You just have to concentrate on the actual road itself. Wow, what a car. It's so fast, this car, but it's not as intimidating as you might think actually. Once you've got used to the gearbox and the noise, so you come into these rocks, you think about whether it's going to be in shadow, it's going to be slippery under here, you think about that sort of thing. You look a long way ahead, you take every chance you can just to scan the road ahead. There you go, you can feel the wind at the side of here. You think about your braking as well, much more. Being a single-seater, a mono, it's obviously like the McLaren F1, it can take a little bit of getting used to driving right in the centre of your lane. But Wow, what an experience!
I must say, it's hard not to get jealous of Henry in that mono, even in these weather conditions. But I have to admit, if you want a more relaxing approach to enjoying a powerful car, then the Conti is not a bad bet.
The all-wheel drive and the amazing levels of grip you get in this car mean that there isn't much that will phase it at all. It's the right car then to take to Scotland, the country where they invented rain, to really be able to plough through no matter what. And I must say, this massaging seat function is worth its weight in gold.
Henry, though, had his own version of massaging seat.
There's a lot of vibration in this car, as you can probably tell, because you've got the engine and gearbox bolted directly to that carbon chassis, and carbon's not known for its forgiveness. Drew might have a massage function in the Bentley, but I've got my own massage function of sorts. Another thing to bear in mind with this car is the fact that you will get a lot of looks. You'll get people like the car in front try and take photos. Much more so even in the new Bentley. People just stop and stare with this. It's like you're in an alien spaceship.
Now, there are many roads in the UK which could claim to be our nation's best for driving on, but I think here the North Coast 500 really should be counted amongst the top. It has some amazing technical sections where you really get to push yourself and the car to its maximum, and the roads go from driving up in the hills to being carved right into the mountain face to driving down past the lochs and ruins of castles dotted around. It is so very Scottish in the best possible way. It is absolutely stunning, and to be here with two of my favourite cars in the world is such a treat. And the weather might not be playing ball, but truly this is the most British weather you could ever hope for. And considering these are British cars, if you build a British car, it has to withstand rain. One of the biggest advantages of driving the Bentley on roads like this is that when you see a spectacular view, you can pull over, put the car in park, get out, and actually enjoy it.
It had been a magnificent day of driving with two of the best British cars money can buy, but with the sun setting it was time to regroup with a drink and a debrief.
So have you dried out?
Just about,
Yeah.
I think. We couldn't have had much more different sort of walking in here, me bedraggled helmet and kind of all that stuff, and you
I was relaxed.
warmed by your heated seat and massaged cushions.
I was more relaxed, but I guess the question is, having driven both out here, which was the better experience on the roads that we had them on?
They're just so different, aren't they? I think one is, in the Bentley you experience the road, probably even more of the road to some extent, and certainly the scenery that's around you, because you don't have to be so focused on the road. But in terms of driving, the mono is, because you're just so involved, you have to think all the time about how the car's interacting with the road, how you're interacting with it. Do you need to use the clutch for this downshift? Do you brake here, there? Which bit of tarmac do you use? All that sort of thing.
For me, it was just having the contrast of getting to experience both on this stretch of road, and you get to enjoy the contrast between them. Going into the Bentley, initially it feels great, it's comfortable, but then you jump into the mono and you realize the tactility, the ferocity, the engagement with every aspect of what's around you, which you didn't have in the Bentley, and you love it in the mono and you experience it, and it's thrilling.
And even in the driving, though, you have the different thing. As much as a lightweight car is wonderful, I'm a huge advocate of lightweight in all its forms. The way the Bentley moves across the road, leave the suspension in a slightly more relaxed setting, and using that weight and sort of braking into the corner in some ways is as much to do if you're driving that quickly as there is with the mono. And as you say, it's all about contrast, isn't it?
Yeah, you go from managing a lightweight car that could be skittish in very wet conditions where every tiny input has a response from the car, to managing the weight and the momentum of a much heavier car with much more suspension travel, much more dip under braking. Those things you notice when you go from one into the other. Getting to drive both back to back, was probably the best way of experiencing the road altogether, really.
So what you're saying really is that you should have two friends, one who owns a Bentley, one who owns a mono, and they should get insured on both and do the North Coast 500 like that.
That might be the only way to get the best out of it. I can drink to that one.
Cheers.
Quite clearly, this was never about picking a winner between the BAC and the Bentley. Rather, it was about demonstrating just how diverse your experiences of a road can be, depending on the car you're in. And while sometimes you might feel like you're not in the best car for the road you're on, it's always worth enjoying the aspects accentuated by it. But whatever you're behind the wheel of, whatever your particular perspective on the tarmac, go and experience the North Coast 500. You won't regret it.